We're back with season, episode, actually apparently this is episode 196, and happens after the next episodes that we'll be covering next week, but whatever. This is the Christmas special for the best gift. Naturally, it's Tiberium. They just give each other Tiberium and it's cool. I can't actually properly summarize this episode like I try to do normally because, my goodness. Let's get rid of some of that glare on my face. You know, for how long this was, I don't have that many notes. A lot of this episode was just kind of weird in its construction. Just kind of happening, and it's like, that's cool, and it was what I would call generically enjoyable. But at the same time, it was just kind of like, okay, well then this is happening, and now this is happening, and now this is happening. It's like, okay. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I do have some notes, of course. I always do. But I should mention this is by Michael Vogel, which I forgot to put up here. I'm going to do that right now. If I could ever get to it. There we go. There we go. Vogel, where are you at, Vogel? There you are. Oh yeah, Vogel's our rainbow. Blue, green, yellow, orange, red, purple. Yeah, he's done the whole thing. So we'll see how this one lines up, won't we? Alright. And yeah, some of the stories are just way better than this. There's so many background continuity moments. I don't even know how to count them all. I'm just going to throw 50 on the pile. There's so many. That's probably lowballing it. And almost all of them have to do with the episode proper, too. Like, there's some little stuff in the background, like Grandpa Pear was there. The apples... Grandpa Pear was with the apples, who were celebrating Christmas with the pies still. They kept that tradition going. Sorry, Heartswarming Eve. God, I can't even remember other ones. There's so much little stuff. Oh, yeah, poor Marble is all sad because Big Mac is with whatever her name is. You know, it's just... someone had a continuity shotgun and was just going nuts with this one, which I do love. Let me be very clear about that. Sugar Bell, thank you. I wanted to say Cherry Bell, and I'm like, no, I'm getting that confused with Cherry Lee. And they didn't end up together. So the song starts off, and it's all about the gift-giving stress. Can I just say, yes! Oh my god. Now, I actually pride myself on being a good gift giver, because I am, but it's incredibly stressful. And the best part is, and by best I mean worse, it gets harder every single year. There's been some times where I've thought of the perfect gift for my sister, and then I've given it to her. And then a year passes, and now I'm like, shoot, now what? Like, this year was an interesting one for gift giving. I did come up with some unique stuff. Like, I tend to go through the same general problems that Twilight was going through. Because it has to be unique, it has to be special, it has... Like, I don't literally do a Venn diagram like she does. But I do metaphorically do a Venn diagram in my head. It's got to be special, unique, interesting, it's got to be fun. It's got to be something they're going to enjoy. It can't be just trash, right? Just getting my niece another toy, I can do that any day of the week. It needs to be something that she's really going to get into and enjoy for a long period of time. And it's got to be something special, extra. Now you might think, Lord, why? Well, in my case, that's because I give stuff all the year. Like, I am constantly giving stuff to people because it's me. So, there's more stress when it comes to birthdays and Christmas. And I'm just like... Anyways, so... I also want to talk about a comment here, or a topic, excuse me. I want to comment on a topic. I've talked before about how... I think I turned the music up. I did. There we go. Good stress versus bad stress. Now, this is a topic that some people kind of look at me and go, at. But... excuse me. Still coffee. But the point is, there really is a really big gap between good stress and bad stress. And usually, good stress comes from something good, whereas bad stress comes from something bad. knowing you can't pay the bills next month. That's a bad stress. I've felt that stress before. Trust me, it sucks. Not being sure if you're going to succeed at the match you're currently doing, whether it's sports or video game or whatever. Good stress. Or maybe you're watching a game. Like, I should say, a sports game, right? Maybe you're watching the latest Formula 1 race, which I'm not going to spoil here, but holy crap. Good stress versus bad stress. And I agree with Ross. Pinky absolutely probably lives off in fact, no, I could say with definitiveness that she lives off this stress. Why? So one of the things that happens is Twilight is super stressed about all this. Here, follow me through as we go through these steps. And she's super stressed, and then AJ knows exactly how to calm her down, knows exactly what to tell her. AJ's actually got her head on pretty straight this entire episode, go figure. She's like, okay, chill, it's cool, we'll make it work. We'll do a trade, we'll do a Secret Santa thing. Okay, cool. Rarity Crush counter. Because, one of these days we're going to stop adding to the Rarity Crush. Damn it, Spike. Give up. It's never happening. Yeah, I love how many... I guess it's only two. It's AJ and Pinkie Pie. But I love how Pinkie Pie, without even... Hey, Pinkie Pie, I don't have Rarity! That's right. It's probably one of the funnier jokes in the thing. Yes, I do remember that act. Good God. I think we are Mr. Red. Holy crap. Anyways, so Spike is like, oh God, I gotta get ready. They do the Secret Santa thing. Pinkie Pie hates the idea. I'll come to that in just a second. But then Twilight's like, okay, you know what? This is cool. This is cool. We're going to do this. It's going to be all right. Everything's going to be calm and peace. And then Spike mentions out an interesting concept. Now, there's a mathematical term for this. I actually brought it up recently. I can never think of the term. It's kind of a zero-sum thing, right? So if you have 100x and 100 people to give it to, each person gets 1x, right? If you have one person to give it to, one person gets 100x. But you notice the thing that doesn't change is the quantity of x. I know that's a weird way to put that, but what I mean is, no matter how you spread it out, or no matter how much you deal it into a smaller group of people like this, the long and the short of it is the amount of stress, because that's what's being talked about in this case, doesn't change. The requirement of how much work and effort you have to put into the gift hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is do you have to put all that effort into a single gift, as opposed to putting decent amount of effort into multiple people's gifts, right? Yeah, exactly. It becomes focused. We're just covering the short, although I'm not sure a 44-minute episode qualifies as short, but that's all we're covering today, Triaxia. As I talked about during the lore week, the Streaminations block has always been a 44-minute block, regardless of what show we're covering. So, Twilight comes to realize this. Oh my God. And so all the stress she was feeling is still there. It's just a lot more focused. Probably in about 2 weeks, Mr. Red. I'm actually behind because I screwed up last week, but whatever. Maybe 3 weeks. Anyways, point being, so she freaks out. And this then leads to Pinky, who is freaking out. Now, I actually like that quite a bit. Because Pinky is realizing the exact same thing Twilight did, but in a different expression. Because Pinky is like, oh God, this is going to be so horrible having to give for one person. But wait, I'll think of it as a challenge. And so in her case, rather than stretching out the challenge so much, all the challenge is focused. It's the same thing. It's just challenge instead of stress. Because, and this, I'm sorry to take so long to get to this point, but I really wanted to make my point here. For Pinky, this kind of stress is good. As Ross pointed out, she thrives on this kind of stress because it's good stress for her. For Twilight, this is bad stress for her, and that's the really key thing. I talk about good stress and bad stress. It must be emphasized that something that is stressful. Whether it's good or bad depends on you. I love the intense stress of some of the more difficult RTS games out there. Because you have to be doing stuff immediately. You cannot delay. You can't pause to think about your questions. You have to be on top of things. You can't fall behind on your resource chain. You have to be doing this. And oh, you screwed that up. And I'm being attacked from the flank. And you gotta go. Oh, God. And it's just this nonstop cavalcade of stress. I love it. I happen to know 2 people personally who rather enjoy the stories of those games who hate playing them because it's bad stress for them. And I love how they showcase this throughout this sequence. Hi, Darth Medora. And yeah, oh my God, the animation in this episode, it's almost become rote But it always has to be emphasized that the animation is fantastic. I said this in chat earlier. I would kill. I'd find Mr. Red and I'd strangle him to death if it meant that I could have this animation team working on videos for me. I would freaking kill to have this quality of a team doing animations for me. Especially since I'm kind of putting out like 3 or 4 animation ideas and actual things. You know, I got the Trek rewrite, which I am actually animating. I'd love to do more of the extant videos, you know. Yeah, exactly, Ect. Oh my god, and it shows! It shows! Now, Weouds is quite correct. One gift limits chance of success, which is, of course, exactly what we see in this very episode, is when you get one shot at a thing, if you fail, that's it. Binary failure. You have successfully failed. Congrats. If you're giving out 5 gifts, well, you may fail one person, but at least you have more chances of people actually liking your gifts, right? Funny fact, this is actually one of the reasons I tend to give people multiple gifts whenever I do. Because that way I have a smaller chance of failure. I mean, I got something really unique for my niece this year, but if she doesn't like that, I've also giving her a Nintendo Switch Online gift card, which I know she'll like, and a He-Man toy, which I'm pretty sure she'll like, and a couple other things, because it's me. So, you know, covering the bases a little bit. It just makes my job harder for next year. Don't worry, so far I've managed. Oh god, I'm gonna die. Anyways, and that brings us back to stress, right? Real quick. This is going to sound like a stupid thing to comment on, because the episode spends like 6 seconds on this. She says, I'm going to write down all her names on this paper. So she scribbles it, and it actually shows us the paper for a second as she pulls them apart and then folds them. But their names aren't on it, their cutie marks are. Something about that resonated with me so hard, I had to pause and take some notes on that. And yeah, Spike's wing to identify Spike. Because that's... I mean, it's essentially the same concept as the true name idea over in Forgotten Realms. We can change our names. Our names tend to change over time, either through nicknames or through marriage or through legality or whatever, right? There are plenty of ways to change your name. But changing your identity is much harder, because what identifies you usually doesn't change. Now, whether or not there is such a thing in real life is a debatable fact, but in most fiction, there's usually a single anchor, is what I call this. We talked about this during the Cyberpunk run. There's a single anchor that's you. That doesn't change. That's your identifier. That's your mark. And it's interesting to think about I can't believe this never occurred to me before, that the cutie marks function in such a manner. That cutie mark is you. Doesn't matter what you're called, doesn't matter how you choose. Remember, to use a specific example, Mrs. Cake didn't used to be called that, right? She changed her name completely, both names, when she became Mrs. Cake. I actually can't remember what she was called before, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So, her cutie mark didn't... Chiffon Swirl, thank you. But her cutie mark, right? She still... Once she got her cutie mark, that's her. That didn't change. It kind of getting across the idea there, right? It's just interesting to think about, and again makes me wonder about the nature of cutie mark magic, which we've also touched on several times before, since so much of that has to do with attacking, changing, or otherwise altering your identity. Just food for thought. By the way, I don't have to wonder what it's like to have a symbol that means me, because I wear it on my lapel all the time. Anyways, so... a lot of things happen in very short order. This episode is actually really dense, strangely enough, for a double length episode. Spike wants to get Rarity's thing, and is freak out. Rainbow has absolutely no idea what to get Fluttershy, and has no idea how to subtly ask Fluttershy what she wants. Can I just say I've been there? Not the lack of subtlety thing. I have every now and again been like, hey Ross, what do you want? You know, what do you like? And Ross says, oh, I just like everything. Okay, what don't you like? Not liking things. Ross. I've had that happen before. Because the problem is when you ask someone what they like, most people don't have a pre-baked answer for that. They don't have something that they've already put thought and effort into. If you put them on the spot, they're going to be like, and they're probably going to default. This is actually true for most things. If you ask someone their favorite game, book, movie, song, if they haven't already put pre-existing thought into it, and they have to come up with an answer on the fly, then what they usually come up with is the default answer, which isn't actually the truth. You know, that movie is not their favorite movie. It's just the first one that came to mind that they enjoy. That song is not their favorite song. It's just the first one that they thought of while they were thinking about it, right? This is something I've observed as far back as high school. This is a really, really common psychological problem. And it's one of the reasons why sometimes viewers will ask me, what's your favorite X? And I have an answer right there, because I've already put thought and effort into that. And then sometimes they ask, and I just kind of stall, because I haven't put thought into that. So it's like, let me think about that. Now, having gotten that out of the way, I do think it's a little bit weird that Rainbow doesn't know what to get Fluttershy. I think it's probably one of the biggest, closest things to a plot hole this entire episode has. Because, as Ect is so accurately pointing out in chat, Rainbow and Fluttershy have known each other since they were young children in school. I believe they are the longest standing connecting point between all of the main six. Now, Dash isn't the shopping type, but you can't tell me that it wouldn't occur to her that none of this stuff is going to work out, right? Like, as Discord so accurately points out, oh, yes, sure, a thing that... He summons the sheep. It's like, yeah, a flame that's going to give her anxiety about it. Rainbow should have known that. Rainbow has demonstrated several times before that she does know Fluttershy reasonably well. Now, I could buy her not knowing what to buy. I could get that. What I'm worried about is the fact that she doesn't seem to know Fluttershy at all in this episode, which is a little bit strange. Nevertheless, thank you, Trafin. Happy holidays. Merry New Year. Happy Christmas. I'll put that towards the Metroid block if you give me a second, because I don't have that up right here. Here we go. Oh, I agree it's a relatively minor nitpick. If anything, take that as a positive. Because, well, it's the only part of the plot that doesn't really work, and it's a relatively minor nitpick. But anyways, so then Discord shows up. Hi, Discord. Discord's awesome. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Meanwhile, Spike is, I don't want to call him an idiot, but he's put so much thought and effort into getting Rarity that he has no idea what to get Rarity. Obviously, a Rarity statue made of smaller Rarity statues is not the answer. Rarity wouldn't like that. Not only would she think it's gaudy, but she doesn't want a statue of herself. So that's just kind of eyebrow raising. So they're just whatever. Then we cut to Flim and Flam. Now, I don't actually dislike Flim and Flam as characters. I've said this before. It is by coincidence that most Flim and Flam episodes just haven't been all that good for some reason or another. This is one of the more interesting approaches to Flim and Flam, and honestly probably is the best showcasing of them as characters. That's ironic, because I think this is the most evil thing they've done in the entire show. So first of all, they have to put on disguises. And it's kind of being made a point that they have to. That it is required that they disguise themselves. Obviously, in order to do the con, because what they're doing is drumming up artificial scarcity. You know, the one guy, oh my god, they're almost out, right? But more to the point, I have a feeling that their reputation has finally started to actually spread. Oh, and also they're making a new attachment, or another new expansion to the park. Another new expansion to their park. The other thing that occurred to me is the artificial rarity thing. And can I just say how much I absolutely hate how well that tactic works in real life? The artificial scarcity concept is wrong. I don't know how to put that more simply. I mean that philosophically. I mean that from an economic perspective. You know, as someone who's both studies and is a huge geek for economics. I mean that from a societal perspective. Artificial scarcity is wrong at every level. What you're trying to do is you're trying to drum up sales now, and you're doing so at the expense and cost of the people, of the trust, of your own brand, and how much you're damaging it, while at the same time, you're doing it by one of the most manipulative forms of lying. You are appealing to a level of psychology most people aren't even aware exists. Yeah, it is a pure greed thing. Nothing good comes from artificial scarcity. There's a lot of economic concepts which have bad aspects, but still accomplish something good, right? Artificial scarcity is a universal net negative. It's not even a net negative, it's a gross negative. Which is just... And yeah, I do like that AJ completely no-sells the whole thing. I could kind of see Fluttershy falling into this. She even catches herself at one point when AJ kind of helps her out. I'll come back to that in a moment. But then we get to the Yaks, who are putting all stuff in a pile so they can smash it. That got a grin out of me. Yona was there too. That's also awesome. I like how Pinky freaks out about the idea that the Yaks are not the best at one thing. Just the one. Then we cut to Tabitha St. Germain voicing both Muffin and Rarity. The episode jumps around a lot. This is obviously an amusing scene, and Tabitha St. Germain is amazing, but I have to admit, I saw that and I was just like, oh, yeah, that's true, ain't it? I don't want to complain. They're good at smashing stuff, Mr. Red. I don't want to complain too much, but as of this exact moment in time, I am not only missing a package, two of the packages that I had ordered for Christmas have not even shipped yet, and a fourth was actively stolen or is missing. We're not 100% sure about that. So, love you, Muffin, really. But maybe you should use that glass all the time, the one that lets you actually read. I mean, it's almost the same concept, Venters. I think it's a bit predatory. Do you want me to deliver? No, just give me the address, thank you. Break time. Moving on. This then gets to Rainbow and Discord arguing. This brings up a fascinating topic, and I'm going to sit and talk about this one for a minute. Then we'll cut back to the FOMO thing, because I think that's the next thing. Yep, nope, there it is. So, Rainbow says that she knows Fluttershy better than Discord does. The reason she gives for this is because she's known her longer. You could probably already guess the topic I'm bringing up here. This is, at its core, the difference between repetition and practice. How many of you in real life know someone who... fear of missing out, Imperial Star Destroyer. It is a core psychological concept that we all have, all of us. Even babies, in fact, primarily babies, have FOMO. It's one of the reasons why babies act the way they do before they understand things like language and concepts and permanence and all that fun stuff. Anyways, so, yeah, where was I? I lost my train of thought. God damn it. Something about... Right. Repetition versus practice. How many of you either know either yourself or someone within your life where there's this person and then there's this person and then there's this third person? Person A has known person B for years. Person C has known person B for maybe a year. Person B knows person C knows person B better than person A does. This is actually a concept I run into all the time as a video game reviewer, because density is a hugely important quantity and qualifier when it comes to rating a game and how good it is. A game that's 50 hours long doesn't make it better. A game that's 50 hours long and is good the whole time, that's awesome. Density is what actually matters, and this is true for a huge number of things. Whether it's how long you've been in a specific job, or how many years you've spent studying something, or how long you've known someone, it's the exact same concept in all things. It is the specifics of how dense that concept is, how much you've practiced it, how much you've tried to know that person, how much you've understand that person, how intimately and deeply you know that person, not just the length of time you've known them. Now, I know that this is certainly just within the course of this episode, because Rainbow has demonstrated several times before that she knows Fluttershy very well. But in this episode, it posits the idea that Discord knows Fluttershy better than Rainbow does because of that density concept. She's only known her for a few years. He's only known her for a few years, even though Rainbow's known her for probably in the decades range. And yet Discord just immediately knows certain concepts about her that would work. Now, whether he's right or wrong is debatable. After all, he did have an agenda this entire time. But I bring up the concept because it really got my mind going on how that can apply in that manner. My, one of the things that's really, really common is, and I've been guilty of this too, I've tried very hard not to do this, is the idea that, let's use a dumb example, let's use carrots, okay? I actually got to go grocery shopping this morning before Lore Week, so yeah, I have carrots again. I've been eating carrots for 20 years, so I think I know carrots better than you. And yet, if you're someone who actually studies carrots and thinks about carrots and actually has figured out the chemical compositions and the fiber makeup, and you actually know, for example, the fact that there's a lot of sugar in carrots, believe it or not. You know, stuff like that, right? You know carrots better than I do, even though I've known them for longer. People have a really common tendency to say, to try and justify their opinions by saying they have a length, not a density. And again, I've done this too. One of the things I've said before is I've been a tank in MMOs for 20 years now, and that's actually pretty close to true at this point. So, because it goes back to the 90s. But it's not the fact that I've been doing it for so long, it's the fact that I'm so damn good at it. That I have bothered and practiced and done everything I can to be a good tank that makes me a good tank. It's not the length. Let me use a very real, kind of sad admission here. My sister has known me for about 12 years now. My mother has known me for about 39. Which person do you think knows me better? So, interesting to think about. Interesting stuff to consider. Of course, in real life, there's no way to judge such a thing. Like, if you try to tell me I know X because I've done X for Y length, it's... like, I can't judge that, right? I don't know. And so I can see why people like to default to length as the qualifier. It's just the more I study everything, the more I feel like it's a completely flawed quantifier. It doesn't actually indicate anything. I've known people who have worked jobs, for example, for decades, who suck at them because they don't bother trying, because they don't care. So they just show up and they put in the college try, right? They just do the minimum amount of work and then they go home. So they actually suck at their job, even though they've been doing it for 25, 30 years, right? But what else can you use as a metric other than actually spending the time to see the quality of their work, or see how much they know of the person, or see the quality of the game? And you see why it's kind of a common thing. It's just interesting to think about. I'm sorry to go off on this tangent. It's just the whole Discord versus Rainbow thing really got me thinking about this. I wonder which one actually does know Fluttershy better in the end. Anyways, moving on. So then we see pudding. Am I the only one who was actually terrified about that by that face? That wasn't just me, right? Because that's... yeah. But I also have to praise the animation. They had to graft an entirely new skeleton onto that to do that. That's crazy. And yeah, Lesson Zero is back there. Also true, weods. Since you know the kind of stuff they wouldn't like. Or they might say they like, and then they return later. My sister and I actually have code phrases, I'm not joking, for, oh, thank you so much for the gift. I'll be returning this and as soon as you're gone. And trying to get store credit for it. Anyways, moving on. That usually comes up because her daughter's grandparents like to give her stuff that's kind of crap, or stuff that's redundant, or stuff that takes up a lot of space and they don't actually like, and so they're crap gifts. So it's like, yeah, thanks. That's fair. Anyways, so the Acorn couple are adorable, like legit. Can we see more of them? Could they just be like a semi-recurring character? Like, can we see them a couple more times in season? I know we've only got season 9 left at this point, but Jesus Christ, they were so cute. And the acorn decor. Yeah, Rarity's story is just awesome. Probably one of the best stories here. And I'm going to say one of, because actually I think there's one other one that's better, but we'll get to that in a minute. Meanwhile, magical pudding was under spells, not pudding. Yeah, I've been there. Proper sorting methods, very important for finding stuff. And then we see how awful the Flim and Flam doll is. Like I said, this episode jumps around a lot. Did you catch that it's actually in a My Little Pony doll carrier? That's cute. So I was actually thinking about that, Loner. One of the things that was bouncing around my head, actually I have that note a little bit further down. In fact, actually, apparently it's my very next note, because this is when Cadence and Shining Armor show up. They're just leaving the Crystal Empire during Hearthwarming Eve to go visit Twilight. Now that makes sense, family, etc. But the ruling couple, who I want to stress, and this has been pointed out before, don't just sit on a throne. They actually do management and rulership of the country, have just left during this holiday. Does the Crystal Empire celebrate Hearthwarming Eve? Or do they celebrate it on a different day? Because this is something that happens in real life, too. Not everyone celebrates Christmas on December 25th, right? Not everyone celebrates Thanksgiving on the fourth Thursday in November, and so forth and so on, right? Now, it's possible that it's just, they've got people who run the place in their absence, and that's totally valid and totally possible. But for them to leave on Hearthwarming, that's what makes me kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit. They don't confirm this one way or another, so this is pure speculation. It's just interesting to think about the fact that the Crystal Empire is sufficiently culturally divorced to either not care or do it on a different day, or not need the leaders to be around for it, or something, right? That's also interesting, since we do know the Yaks and the Changelings celebrate something for Christmas. In fact, we see both in this episode, and we've discussed both in a previous Season 8 episode as well. By the way, I caught that the Changelings are still doing their emulation holiday, and it's still awesome. I still love that. Yeah, exactly, Loner. It's just interesting to think about. Again, this doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just something that caught my attention and made me go, huh. They probably won't actually do anything with it. It's just food for thought. You know me. I like to dig my teeth into the world building, even if it's just backstory world building. I do have to pause for a moment to say that Flurry Heart is the cutest thing in the universe. Second cutest thing in the universe, as in the little star costume. That is just incredibly adorable. I don't even have words. I do not even have words. That is the cutest damn thing in this entire show. And I'm sorry, but it's the second cutest thing because of me. sorry. I like cute things. What do you want from me? I like my niece. So, then we cut to the reindeer, who are apparently imperial judges. Okay, nobody in chat's actually going to get that reference, so let's make a more accurate comparison. These are the fates from Greek mythos. Yeah, no kidding. They're apparently Christmas fates, which is even funnier. Yeah, I'm not even going to make the Aurora Borealis joke. What I'm going to point out is they literally know past, present, and future, and yeah, they're good. So yeah, for those of you who know Greek mythos, the fates are, well, they're like most Greek people in Greek mythos. Not like real-life Greek people. I mean, in the stories, most Greek characters. They're all horribly evil. Or jackasses. Or both. They're all horrible. So, yeah, no, these are, MLP equestrian versions of the fates, and of course they're legit. I do love how they showcase them, and I do love how they're like, Pinkie Pie, there you are, we've been waiting for you, and they're ready to go, and everything's cool, and they give her the perfect gift that she'll need later, and all of this is just kind of awesome. It's actually probably one of my favorite little moments in the whole episode. It's also interesting to think about. This is the first time we see these reindeers. They can fly, but they also have telekinesis, like a unicorn does. Interesting. And all their antlers glow, which is really cool. Really quick, thank you, Loke. Very much as always. If you know what you want to go towards, please let me know. And yeah, they also do the riddle, just like the fates would, right? The comparisons grow. But Invoke the Night Reaper. Um, once again, the world builder in me is exploding at the existence of these fates. I find myself wondering if they are functionally Santa Claus for this setting. Obviously, they can't do, you know, the idea of Santa Claus, you know, going down and dropping all the presents in every house in the world in one night, that whole nonsense, which sometimes is portrayed well and sometimes is portrayed poorly. But I mean, like, maybe they're the hole fillers. Okay, so they're doing okay and they've given this out and they've done this. That kid over there wasn't able to get a gift because this happened, and that person over there, they weren't able to reach this person in time. So they fill the holes, right? They fill the gaps in gift giving across Hearthwarming Eve and make sure that everyone gets something, right? Just the first thought that occurred to me, since most of Equestria seems to handle it themselves. Now, because I'm kind of a writer at heart and because of the way my mind works, my next thought was maybe they've been having to do less of that over time. Maybe originally all the gifts were given by them. And, you know, obviously they couldn't give gifts to everyone because it doesn't work that way. There's just too many people. But over time, as the pattern progressed, as people became more civilized, as friendship slowly spread throughout Equestria, their job became less and less of a requirement, right? Because more people were taking care of it themselves. That's why I say they're the hole fillers. They're cleaning up the gaps, you know, any issues in the line, right? And yeah, now they can actually celebrate instead of spending the entire night frantically trying to make sure that everyone gets taken care of, right? Just food for thought. Food for thought, because the whole thing really got my brain going, and unfortunately they don't do anything with it. And yeah, like Weouds pointed out, they are alicorns for all intents and purposes. And they definitely, I would say it would be surprising to me if there's not something to do with the Wendigos inherent in them, right? Like maybe they were always kind of a counterbalance to the Wendigos. It's just they can only do what, let me put this a different way. They can only serve as magnifiers. Like they can't hold off the Wendigos by themselves. But if everyone's cool, then they could project the coolness. Although that's more of a Crystal Empire thing. So I don't know. It just there's a lot of directions they could go with them, and I doubt they'll ever come up again. Because apparently we have started making MLP into Star Trek. Hi, Bragwin. Again, the world builder in me just kind of ran off on a tangent with the reindeers. I'll try not to bore you with too many of my thoughts, like I already have. It's just fascinating, the concept. Either way, this then leads to... this leads us back to Flim and Flam. First and foremost, Flim and Flam are planning another expansion when that comes up. Second of all, they have a quote which I wrote down. The more you spend, the more your friend knows you love them. How many of you know someone who thinks that way? I know 3 people who think that way right off the top of my head. That the dollar amount of gifts is mentally equated directly to how much of a gift it is, right? Or how good of a gift it is. Don't mistake me. There's a time and a place for dollar value gifts. You know, that's a real thing. You know, and there are certainly things that can be very much appreciated thereof. Of course, my thing is over there. I have a lot of things that were given to me. There's gotta be some here. You know what? Here, we'll use Om Nom Nom. You know how much this cost? I'm just gonna go and tell you right now. $8. I was only worth $8? No, you were worth way more than that, which is exactly my point. You were picked out by my niece and purchased by my sister for me when we went to a convention, and you are awesome. Oh, thank you. $8. As with the length thing, you'll notice it's the same concept, by the way. I feel like Mike Vogel is doing this on purpose because he's a good writer. I feel like this is a deliberate theme. Once again, length, in this case being quantified as dollar amount, does not directly equate into a better gift. This is more or less the exact lesson that AJ and Fluttershy try to tell people. There's another lesson there too, and I don't want to dismiss that, but just because it's more expensive or more rare doesn't make it better. Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to talk about expensive plushies? That, I can never think of the name of it. Her name is Wave, but I can never think of the name of that. But what's the name of this Pokemon right here? Help me out here. What? Melodic. That's it. Thank you. That was $150. Worth every penny. I love Melodic, and it's a very well constructed, very well built thing. So yeah, no, plushies can be a little pricey. By contrast, Blue over here, this is also a gift from my sister, by the way, was about 20. Ugh. Well, it's not an official one, Loner. And I had to cover shipping from Russia, so that's part of that, too. Anyways. Oh, yeah, the Crobat, same person, by the way. It's an Etsy account. Was not particularly cheap, either. You get my point, though. The dollar amount certainly matters, but it is only one factor in the equation. And so Flim and Flam pushing that idea is why they're actually evil in this episode. Ignoring the fact that they're being predatory, this is when we talk about FOMO, it's also the fact that they're being predatory, which is when we talk about the concept of, well, you love them, right? I mean, you care about them. Don't you care to give the very best? Don't you love your friend, loved one, significant other, children, family members, whatever, enough to give them the best gift that you can? Do you want to get them something subpar, substandard? Are you not a good friend? Or maybe you just don't care about them that much, which is fine. How many of you have seen that kind of marketing stint before? Because I have. How many of you have ever heard the phrase in any marketing campaign ever? Brand name, when you care to give the very best. Yeah, exactly, Loner. And yeah, God, I wanted to slug him. And ironically, it's probably one of the better aspects of them being written well. Because usually, like I said, usually they're just in kind of crap episodes. Here, they are pretty much spot on. In fact, they even use the actual definition of technically on camera. Technically, we're not doing anything wrong. All we're doing is selling blah, blah. Yeah, that is technically, in a nutshell, when you're not technically doing anything wrong. FOMO, fear of missing out. This is actually a huge and complex topic, so I'm only going to brush over this because this is just surface level, right? But FOMO is fear of missing out. It's the idea that that's built into us that we don't want to lose something that we might never have a chance to get again. Now, this is a survival instinct. It exists there to make sure that we get food when we need it, shelter when we need it, right? That's its base thing, and it's built into all of us. We all have this. We're all humans. Well, you're all humans. And, you know, it's just kind of a normal thing. As I've said, the easiest way to observe this is in any child or baby. Yes, they also did do FOMO for roller coaster. You're absolutely right. It's shutting down. Totally. You better get in soon. So, a baby that doesn't want to go to sleep. Why do you think the baby doesn't want to go to sleep? Why do you think that very young child doesn't want to go to sleep? This is the simplest and most obvious expression of FOMO. It's because FOMO is triggering. They don't want to miss out. There are actually tricks and ways you can get a child to go to sleep. One of the simplest and most easiest is to either pretend or actually go to sleep with them. If you start shutting down all the lights, don't leave the TV on, don't have the computer on, and just take them upstairs to go to bed with them. Okay, you put them in their room and then you go to your room. They're far more likely to accept going to sleep because, oh, nothing's happening now. Everything's done. So it's okay to go ahead and shut down for the night. This is one of the reasons why a lot of parents have issues with children when they want them to go down while it's very obvious that stuff is still going on. You know, like you have like a holiday party. Well, you want to use a direct example, and everyone's going to stay up late and drink and all that. The kids know that everyone's going to stay up and stay drinking. They're not stupid. And so they're like, well, I don't want to miss out on that. And they don't even really think of it that way. It doesn't process that way. Most humans aren't aware of that thought process That's why it's so damn insidious. I mean, Imperial Star Destroyer had never even heard of FOMO, or maybe you have, and I'm just using the thing. But I'm not saying that to say you're stupid. I'm saying that it's a very understated aspect of human psychology. Very, very few people talk about it, which is frustrating because it is an extremely common predatory tool that a lot of marketing groups use specifically to try to rip money out of you now, which drives me batty. Now, I will say one thing I've noticed is within the last about decade or so, general public consensus and awareness of FOMO has gotten a lot better, which is good because it means more people are aware of it. And as happened with Fluttershy, to bring this back to the episode, the moment that someone kind of poked her and was like, hey, they're pulling this on you, she snapped out of it. The moment AJ, nudged the doll, she's like, oh, wait a minute. And that's how most people work. Once you're aware of the manipulation, it's a lot easier to be like, well, hang on a second. And yet, of course, AJ sees through it immediately. Because she's AJ. And she's the best. And I just want to slug Flim and Flam. Because what they're doing here is they are deliberately preying on a psychological concept that most people aren't aware of in order to try and rip money out of people who need it when they are at a vulnerable state, when they are desperate and scared and stressed. It is quite literally taking advantage of people. This is why I say that this is the biggest and most obvious example of them being actually evil. All the other stuff they've done has either been, trying to be greedy or trying to be stupid or stealing stuff without anybody actually caring about it or whatever. This is them actually being what I would call predatory. Something that I tend to be rather negative about towards a whole lot of video game companies, along with the rest of the universe. So, that's cute. But then AJ and Fluttershy do the most wonderful acting job ever. I did like that scene quite a bit. Oh no, what shall I do? So that's a good scene. Let's rewind a second because I kind of skipped over two things. So Discord turns into Snake Eyes, haha, by the way. You notice that Rainbow Dash was Storm Shadow. And they go and they find the cute little chinchilla. It's so cute, so cute. It also turns into a monster death machine, but that's cool. It's all according to plan. Spike has a thought. Here's a fun one. Making a gift is better than buying one. This is a whole topic I could probably spend like 20 minutes discussing. Let's not. Yeah, exactly, Darth Vader. I'm pretty sure it was very deliberate, because that is very clearly those two outfits, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Like, 1-to-1. It's a little bit too obvious to not be specifically Hasbro's, or, excuse me, G.I. Joe's. Anyways, yeah, Spike's in panic mode, but here's the thing. There's actually a lot of validity to something you make is more valuable than something you buy. After all, you put time and effort and work into it, but the really hard thing, and this is something I've run into too, in the whole getting harder to give gifts every year thing, the problem with a custom-crafted gift is a custom-crafted gift costs the most expensive thing of all. Time. Also, you need to not suck at arts and crafts like Spike does, but time really is the mitigator there. There's been several years personally where I've been like, oh, I've got this great idea for a gift, and then I sit and do a quick mental calculation of how much time that's going to take me, like, I can't do that. I don't have time to make that. And yeah, they might not appreciate it. I know this is going to sound stupid, but one of those little weird, heartbreaky moments is when you spend a huge amount of time and thought and work on a project and give it to them, and they're like, oh, thanks. And it's just, okay. That hurt. I actually get nervous every time I give a unique gift. Like I'm making my niece a lord in Scotland, excuse me, a lady in Scotland, for example. That's not a joke. And I think it's going to be really cool, and I hope she likes it. And I have no idea if she's going to. I'm picturing her telling her friends at school, you may now refer to me as Lady Minizan. Oh, I'm sure, Act. I'm sure it's not exactly an uncommon thing. How much are those? It's actually kind of expensive. So, the whole thing is I'm actually buying I'm planting some trees. I'm paying for some tree plantings. But the hook they have is they have a deal with I can't remember the name of the board right now, which is which does make them legally the lord or lady of a 1 square foot of land in Scotland. It doesn't really mean anything. It is effectively just for the for the joke and for the tree. But because it's actually legal, my niece will be able to say that and do that and be able to tell her friends and whoever she feels like without a hint of lying or exaggerating, no, really, she is now a lady of Scotland. So, yeah, exactly, Loner. That's exactly right. Anyways, I thought about making her some stuff, but I don't have time. Actually, I did make her a couple things, but that's neither here nor there. Point being, if Scotland needs my bucks, then they have a problem. Oh yeah, the hat Rarity bought was nice. That's another thing. It was an expensive hat, but it was also a really nice hat. Which again, money can matter, but it's not the only thing that matters. Anyways. So then we fast forward a little bit, and we get to the climax scene. I actually have very little to say about the climax scene. Okay, and there's the climax scene. How would I do that exactly, Loner? Now, I do like how Discord is the one who suggests the obvious idea. And I do love how, they have the thing and blah, blah, blah. I do have to admit, so everything I've been talking about with gift giving this whole time, Discord actually gives the best gift this entire time. No. Really. He gave Fluttershy a custom-crafted gift that cost time that was specifically and custom-tailored to her. He gave a really good gift. It's kind of interesting. So... at Dash's expense, admittedly. It's just interesting to think about. And yeah, shining armor. Honey, I can fly. Shining armor's like, I got this. The last montage is pretty legit, and we have a closing song, The True Gift of Gifting. Everything's cool. Credits. So now I gotta rate this one. I'm thinking 0 out of 10 as the bluest, blackest, blarkest episode ever. Actually, that's true. A song is very hard. I've given songs for gifts for several years, and yeah, those are hard to do. And you can't really repeat it either, too. It's like, you can't give a song the next year. You gave a song last year, right? It's just... I'm not sure if it's red either. I'm debating. Like, it's generally high quality. I don't know how to describe what I think of it. It felt unusual in its construction. I don't mean for MLP. I mean just for television in general. It bounced around a lot. It was a little bit frenetic in its pacing and its tone. But it wasn't, like, in a bad way, just in a weird way, right? It felt very much like a Christmas special. I don't know how else to call that, because I've seen several other shows do this same concept, where they're like, all right, we're going to do this and this and this, and so it bounces around a little bit as it's going through the stories. I do agree orange is probably the floor here. It is definitely a feel-good episode. Don't mind me. So I would agree with that. Yes, Bragwin. It's an episode in which the floor is lava. Now, that sounds like a joke, but that is actually an approach to cinematography, which I hate, personally. It's the idea that the camera can never be static. What that usually means in practice is... for every single scene. It just gets tiresome after a while. Star Trek Discovery, excuse me. Yeah, we see Starlight and Trixie camping. Like I said, the last montage was pretty cool. I liked it. The two songs, I do need to rate the two songs. I liked One More Day. I'd probably put One More Day... Let me think about this for a second. I think I'll put One More Day right below Generosity. So that's pretty high up on the list. True Gift of Giving, I'm going to put a little bit lower, because it sucks. It's the worst song in the game. I think I'm going to put that closer to... I think I'll put that right above Super Duper Party Pony, and right below Hearts as Strong as Horses. Oh, absolutely, Ross. As soon as they said the riddle, I was like, oh, friendship. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm a little surprised Pinky didn't figure that out quickly. Come on. Gosh, I hope not, Darth Medoro. I just need one more day. The devil shows up, just randomly in Equestria. And because it's Equestria, he's immediately converted into a much nicer person. Anyways. I think I'll go with red. Part of the reason I'm so hesitant on this is because, other than the topics that don't really have much to do with the episode didn't have a lot of meat to it. It absolutely cannot be a purple. This is a popcorn episode, is the way I would define this. That's probably the wrong way to put that. Maybe a Snickers episode? Because the reason I bring that up is, like it doesn't have something that just kind of, oh my god, that's so incredible. It's not going to be a lasting thing. It is merely an enjoyable hour of television, right? If that makes any kind of sense. And there's a value in that. This is something that occurred to me fairly frequently across all the Star Trek shows I cover. Because every now and again, there's like, well, this is a good episode. And the rumination's like 10 minutes long because there's just nothing to talk about. It's like, that was good. It was enjoyable. This is what I like to call generically good. It's not actually an insult. It's just I don't really have anything specific to point out for this one. Good stuff, though. Next week... Scroll up. There we go. Next week, we cover School Raise Part 1 and Part 2. Now, I haven't looked at those, so I don't know what's going on. But I'm very curious to see exactly how that's going to turn out. And it'll be the end... So, yeah, January, we'll be finishing off the Season 8 finales, and we'll be starting up Season 9 soon. Hope to see you there. Hope to see the rest of you Tuesday morning at some point whenever I get back from my appointment. See you around.